Hey, this is Chris from Icethetics, and welcome to episode 1 of the podcast. It's a new series here on the Icethetics YouTube channel. So what is Icethetics all about? Since you're listening, you probably already know. But if you're new, in a nutshell, it's about hockey branding, mostly jerseys and logos, where hockey meets design. Now, about this whole podcast thing, about a year ago, I launched the YouTube channel saying an Icethetics podcast would never work. How can you talk about something visual in a non-visual medium? That's why I started doing videos in the first place. But over the last year, I started to realize there may be some benefits. The truth is, most of what I talk about does require visuals. The most popular videos on the channel so far are about NHL prototype jerseys and concept logo art. There's no way they would work if I was just describing them to you. You'd want to see them for yourself, right? But the more research I did, the more videos I made, the more I realized there are so many stories that I'd like to share here that just don't have or need good visuals. They're just good stories. And it's hard to make a good video without visuals, so I thought I'd give this format a try. That being said, the YouTube channel is working out really well. I really want to thank all of you for your support on it. I was really grateful to see us hit 10,000 subscribers in December, just a year into this. And I think we just topped 12,000 now as I record this. And we just passed 400,000 total video views for the channel too. So it's been a really solid first year. I only wish I could have posted more consistently, but hey, if things keep trending in this direction, maybe I can make that a reality. So anyway, I'm glad to see so many of you are really enjoying the content that I'm posting here. And I hope to keep making more and more as we get into 2022. So the big difference between most of the other videos on this channel and this podcast series is that most of this is going to just be without visuals, like any podcast, right? But because it's still a video format, it gives me the opportunity to insert visuals wherever it makes sense. And in case you're just listening in the background, I'll play this sound effect whenever there's something to see, just so you know you can switch back to this tab or unlock your phone or wherever you happen to be listening. Now, all of this will make editing a much easier and quicker process for me, which just means I can probably post more often. At least that's the goal. So we'll see where it goes. All right, so let's just get into this first episode here. I want to do a little background on me and Icethetics. Maybe you're brand new. Maybe you've read every word I've ever written. More likely somewhere in between. It's a really niche subject, to be sure. I know that. Hockey brand design. But when I started the site almost 15 years ago now, I was genuinely surprised at just how many people were as interested in it as I was. Now that was 2007. And since then, we've developed a really great community. Concept artists, design enthusiasts, aspiring sports designers, armchair experts, plenty of critics, no doubt. But it's always fun to see what new designs teams come out with. And the ideas that fans put together too. Now, I'm not one for spending a lot of time talking about myself, but I will make an exception this time just so you can get a sense of where I'm coming from when I talk about this stuff. Am I an expert in any of it? I would not define myself that way, but I have spent most of my life with a unique passion and many years reporting about it, going back, 15 years now. And so there's a lot of knowledge in my head. So a quick rewind. Without going into my life story, I grew up in a suburb of Tampa. Not exactly a hockey town in the 1980s, but Phil Esposito saw an opportunity there. I was about 7 or 8 years old when the Lightning arrived. That was 1992. I went to my first game at the Thunderdome in St. Pete, which is now known as Tropicana Field, where the Tampa Bay Rays play. And that was such a great game day experience, especially for kids. It was hockey in a stadium long before the Stadium Series was a thing. The rink only used up one side of the stadium, and on the other side was this huge activity area, and it was all indoors. They had arcade games, basketball, street hockey, all kinds of stuff to do. And that's before you even get to the actual hockey game. Not long after, I discovered hockey cards. Now, I don't have the biggest collection, but it's a decent size, maybe 3,000 to 4,000 cards in total, mostly from the 1990s. But as a kid, I wasn't really collecting for certain players. I always got excited to snag a Lightning player, but for me, it was more about the jerseys. I sorted my collection based on the jerseys worn in the photos. By the mid-90s, the real collectibles for me were cards with third jerseys. I lived for that. Now, this was before the internet was easily accessible, so it was really the only way I had to see all the different team uniforms and really study all the little details that you couldn't really see on TV. So that's where all this really started for me. Hockey cards, to be honest. My collections these days are more digital than anything. I'm not even a big jersey collector, to be honest, but I think we'll get into that in a separate video at some point. Over the years, I've always kept an eye out for new logo and jersey designs and rebrands and all that. I loved everything new that came out. As a 90s kid, I was such a sucker for all those non-traditional designs, the Avalanche, the Phoenix Coyotes, all the expansion teams, and even the rebrands that kind of pissed off traditionalists, the Islanders, the Penguins, Sabres, Capitals, even the Canucks with that navy and maroon color scheme. I like it when teams find a way to look surprisingly different, like something truly unexpected, So fast forward to 2007. It's post-lockout. Reebok is taking over NHL jersey manufacturing. There's a lot of talk about the science of the new fabrics, which turns out to be a bit of BS. But I was more interested in the possibility of new designs for all 30 teams, all at once. That was really intriguing to me. But I couldn't find anyone keeping track of what had been released and what was still to come. I mean, not even NHL.com did a great job of it. And that's how I ended up starting a blog. I figured if nobody else is doing it, I will. And then in the downtime between jersey reveals that summer, I started the NHL Tournament of Logos, which is what I named the blog in that first year. Real simple concept, just build a bracket with all 30 team logos and start running polls. You vote for the one you think is best, the winner advances, the loser gets eliminated. And eventually we'd end up with a last man standing situation. And that would be crowned the NHL's so-called best logo. I had to go look it up because I couldn't remember, but that year, the Canadiens beat the Blues in the final poll. And then for the 10th anniversary of the original tournament, we did it all again in 2017. That time it was the Red Wings over the Blackhawks. But all that really just proved there's no such thing as a best NHL logo. They can't really be compared to one another. It's only fair to judge any given brand on its own merits, how it functions in its own market. And even then, it's all down to personal taste anyway. Logos I like will be different from what you like, all for different reasons too. As time went on, I kept writing about new jersey releases and posting concept art submitted by readers, really talented people, by the way, who loved sharing their ideas, and everyone else loved seeing them. Plus, it got them noticed, and some designers even went on to professional careers in sports design. But concepts became a big part of the site really early on, and eventually led to the concept showcase that we have today, where we do new fan-made designs posted every day. It's always fun to see what people send in and then amplify that within our community. I love reading the reactions that people have. You can have polar opposite responses to the same artwork some days, which just goes to show you can never please everyone. But, we all come to it with different sensibilities, right? Anyway, we did a bunch of other logo tournaments and even one with goalie masks. But eventually, I kind of wanted to move away from that. It was really the news and concepts that were worthwhile, in my opinion. So I wanted to stick mostly to that. So in 2008, I launched a new blog under the name Icethetics. It was a blend of two relevant words, aesthetics, which is the philosophy that deals with artistic taste, and ice, because, it's focused on hockey. Now, I can't take full credit for the name, though. I mean, it started with a suggestion from a guy named Charlie, who ran a blog back then called Sabres Not Slugs. He hated Buffalo's 2006 redesign and basically led one of many campaigns to kill it. But I think the story that really put Icethetics on the map in the beginning was 2008. Third jerseys were starting to come back. Reebok needed a year off from extra uniforms, right, to properly ramp up production of the 60 home and road jerseys they just signed up to produce for the NHL. Anyway, by that point, I'd built up enough of a reputation with the blog that I was able to start developing sources. And people who had inside information to share came to me. One of these sources had somehow gotten a photo of the Vancouver Canucks' third jersey, well before it was due to be released. So I published it, and it got a lot of attention, particularly in Vancouver, where the Vancouver Sun even asked me if they could run the image with the link back to the website, of course, which I was more than happy to do. That was a big moment for Icethetics. It kind of set a foundation for everything, and it started building the community. To be honest, though, I never wanted to be the guy with the leaks I know that might be hard to believe, given my track record, but the truth is I'd rather see teams do these big reveals on their own, in their own time, in their own way, and then report on that. I work in marketing professionally, so I know what kind of planning goes into these big announcements and what a gut punch it can be for the people planning them to have a leak out there. But at the end of the day, my feeling was if someone does bring me something and I don't post it, they'll go somewhere else. And then I'm playing catch up. If it's going to be out there, I'd rather it be, Icethetics at the forefront, if possible. So just to kind of maintain that level of credibility. So over the years, I kept working to build the site's reputation, keeping tabs on jersey releases, logo designs, all that. And in 2013, the Dallas Stars invited me to cover the reveal of their new logo and jerseys. That was another big moment. I was there doing a live blog while they had Mike Modano and Jamie Benn up on stage. I got to chat with Jason Walsh, who led the whole redesign process for the Stars. Plus, it all happened on my birthday too, so that was fun. Just a really memorable experience, and probably why the Stars victory green holds kind of a special place for me. Around the time Icethetics was starting to take off, so was my professional career. And in 2010, I got a great new job that took me out of my home state of Florida for the first time in my life. I landed in Seattle, which is where I still am today. Same job and everything. For most of my time here, I felt a little disconnected from the NHL, to be honest. Like I was watching everything happen from another country, Still writing about pro hockey, but without having a pro hockey team in my city, right? So when the expansion team finally became a reality, I was just beside myself, and watching the Kraken come together has been incredible. It's rekindling some of that same joy I had as a kid watching the Lightning come together in Tampa. I just hope there are fewer years of losing here in Seattle, but this first one's looking a bit rough. Now, with the Kraken's arrival, my work and my passion started to overlap a bit. After the team name and logo were announced in July of 2020, I was assigned to produce a half-hour special on the creation of Seattle's first NHL team. That was an amazing experience. I worked with our station's lead reporter, Chris Daniels, who's been following Seattle's arena/sports developments pretty much since the Sonics moved to Oklahoma, honestly. If you want to watch the show, by the way, it's actually streaming on YouTube. It's called Rise of the Kraken. There's a link in the upper right corner of the video, as well as in the description below, so you can take a look if you're interested. Anyway, that show ended up winning a local Emmy Award too, which was really encouraging. More recently, I co-produced a series called Beneath the Surface with my wife, actually, which focuses on the new Climate Pledge Arena here in Seattle, from construction to the sports and entertainment acts that would be coming to the city, including, of course, the Kraken. You can watch that on YouTube too, if you're so inclined. Again, that one was called Beneath the Surface. I'm not sure how many more opportunities I'll have to cross paths with the Kraken through work, but I certainly won't take them for granted. There are some really wonderful people working in that organization, and it's such a crazy hard thing setting up an expansion team, but they're doing a really nice job. Speaking of which, I got to attend the expansion draft back in July. I put together a video for the channel if you're curious about what that was like. I'm hoping to put together some more videos with the Kraken in the future. Such a great brand with so many cool details to dig into, but hopefully more to come on that. But that's only one team. I don't want you to think I'm just focused on them. I do plan to cover them all on this channel. It'll be a lot to do, of course, but I'll keep at it for as long as I can. Now, on that note, since you've listened for this long, you might like to know some of the ways you can help support the channel and keep me going. First, as always, if you have any tips, any info worth sharing, you can reach me anytime. My DMs are open on Twitter, @Icethetics. Email's good too, chris@icethetics.com. I'll also accept concept art by email if you'd like to be considered for the daily concept showcase. If you wanted to make a more significant contribution, right, there are a couple of options. There's now a super thanks button on my videos. You can click on that to make a donation if you want. You can also go through PayPal if you're more comfortable there. The address is paypal.me/Icethetics. I'm also including a link in the video description below. Not a necessary thing, but it's there if you're interested. I'm also considering setting up a membership option here on YouTube where you could subscribe for a small monthly fee and then get access to exclusive video content. And I just want to be careful with that though, because I don't want to start locking Icethetics behind a paywall or anything. But if it's something that people are interested in, I'll look into it. My question for you would be, if you are interested, what sort of membership content would you want? Let me know in the comments. Or if you want something more private, email or Twitter would be great too. The one last thing I'll say about money is it's really all just an option for people who want to support my work and see more of it. If I can make it work financially, I'd love to be able to pour myself into Icethetics full time. It's just at the moment, there's not really enough money in it to make that possible. That's all there is to it. So I put the option out there just to see if there's any interest in the community. And if there is, and if you're up for it, just know that I am enormously grateful. All right, at this point, I've probably droned on long enough, so I'll come in for a landing here with a quick preview of what's to come in the new year, the second year of the Icethetics YouTube channel. I have a handful of new videos currently in production. I recently interviewed Lucas Deichmann, easily one of the most prolific concept artists to ever appear on Icethetics. The guy has sent me at least 1,000 concepts over the years, no kidding. He currently works for the PHF, which is really cool. So I talked with him for the second episode of Concept Spotlight. So that's on the way. I also sat down with Andrew Greenstein, who created the unofficial NHL uniform database, also known as NHLuniforms.com. If you haven't been there, my goodness, you don't know what you're missing. Please go there now. It was very cool to chat with him. Someone just as crazy about hockey jerseys as me. So that'll be a fun one. Last year, I did a countdown of the best concepts of the year. People really seem to love that, so I'm doing it again this year with a bit of a twist. So I hope you enjoyed that one. The Quick Shift will be coming back. Mike Gould from the Talkback crew shows off his personal jersey collection. And while we're at it, I'll probably do a video about my collection too. It's not as expansive as you might expect, but there are some interesting ones in there, I think. I also have something coming on the branding ties between NHL clubs and their minor league affiliates, specifically in the American Hockey League. So a lot of good stuff to come, and hopefully that's just the start. But for now, that's all for this first episode of the Icethetics podcast. Thank you for listening and or watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel and tap the like button if this podcast series is something you'd like to see me continue. That's all for now. See you next time.